Hello, wine lovers. Hola, amigos. My name is Blake. I'm a sommelier from the United States of America. But now, I live in Ecuador, and it is a beautiful day in Cuenca. This day deserves a wine adventure. There's a new Portuguese wine shop that just opened up not far from here. Let's go check it out. This is Gringo Wine Guy. Porto and Gaia has a wonderful selection of Portuguese as well as Spanish wines which are imported to Cuenca exclusively by Hugh Prather. There are red and white wines including Vinho Verde and Tawny Porto. There is also Portuguese cordials. Porto and Gaia also has cheese, a selection of coffees, and something that my wife and I tasted that was so delicious was their selection of chocolates.
Okay.
Hi, we're so glad to have you at the shop. Would you like some chocolate today?
I'd love some chocolate.
Okay, great. Well, this is our chocolate cordials. They're made here in Cuenca, and they're almost too beautiful to eat, but you absolutely will.
I think I will.
Okay.
Wow, what a cool shop that was. So this is the wine that I picked up today. This is Castello do Sulco. This is a Portuguese red wine. It is a red blend. And not only is this a wine that I've never had before specifically, but it is from an area in Portugal, Lisboa, where I don't believe I've ever had any dry or still wines. Obviously, most of my Portugal consumption has been through Porto and fortified wines. This is a dry table wine that is not fortified. Let's check it out. The 2016 Castello do Sulco Reserva is classified as a Vinho Regional Lisboa. Lisboa is considered to be the heart and soul of the Portuguese winemaking industry. This wine region is well known for producing large quantities of simple yet deliciously flavored Portuguese wines. The grapes in the 2016 Sulco Reserva were totally destemmed and fermentation occurred in stainless steel tanks at a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius for a period of 8 days. This wine has received numerous accolades, including a bronze medal at the International Wine and Spirits Competition, as well as being commended by Decanter World Wine Awards for 2016. I also took a trip today to the El Arenal market. It's a huge market filled with produce and goods just across the river from where I live, and I was able to pick up this 5-pound pork shoulder, and I'm going to spend the day cooking that. And once that's finished, we'll go ahead and taste that wonderful pulled pork with this great Portuguese wine. Should be very nice. Okay, this wine is a 2016 vintage, and as I mentioned, it is a red blend. It is Touriga Nacional, Aragonés, and Syrah. Touriga Nacional is a wine that is very common. It's a grape that's very common in Porto in the fortified wine. Aragonés, very simply Portuguese Tempranillo, and then Syrah, another one of my favorites, native to the Rhone Valley. I love all of those wines, all of those grapes. First time I ever had those three blended together in this wine, Castello do Sulco Reserva. Okay, this is a medium opaque red, somewhere between brick red and purple. Not a whole lot of rim variation. It's a little bit lighter red on the edges. Again, this wine is 2016. It's not that old, but considering most of the wine in the market right now, you're seeing 18, 19, and 20 vintages. So it's a pleasure to find this wine, 2016. And this, by the way, was $17 and some change at Porto and Gallo at the wine shop. Portuguese table wine. It's really a treat. It's hard for me to say what kind of aromas I would expect from Touriga Nacional, as it's typically used in the production of Porto, which is fortified, and that brings on a totally different, real intense, almost sweet characteristic on the nose and obviously on the palate because it is fortified and it's a much richer wine. As for the aromatics on this wine, I definitely get red fruit. That is kind of interesting because when I think about Tempranillo and Syrah, a lot of times, depending on how it's vinified, where it's grown, it can really fall into a much richer, darker, deeper blue and black fruit characteristic. This has wonderful spice notes on it. Clove, clove and anise. Maybe even a hint of cassis, which is something that you'd get in a Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't really detect any dominant Syrah kind of characteristics on the nose. And the aromas are a little bit closed in right now. It takes a lot to get those out of there, but it smells very nice. I'm curious to taste it. So it's definitely on the richer side. It's not particularly dry. Again, there's probably not a lot of oak to influence this wine. It does have some very dry and dusty tannins, but that's not as dry as perhaps the wine that I reviewed last week, which was the G7 Carmenere, which is really dry on the top and bottom of the palate and even going back on the finish. This is just a little bit of dustiness on the tongue, almost reminiscent of like Rutherford Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley. That's kind of cool. The palate impression is pretty intense. The weight is medium to full for sure. It's got a decent amount of length. I think the dominant flavor in terms of the fruit characteristic is definitely blue fruits. Maybe that's where the Syrah's coming through, or the Tempranillo for what it's worth. So we've got red fruit aromas backed up with kind of blue fruit taste. Rather interesting. Castello do Sulco, Vino Regional Lisboa, 2016. Well, now having tasted this wine, what would I want to eat with this? This would probably be really terrific with something very simple like pasta bolognese with a rich meat sauce. I could also see someone enjoying this particular wine with a gamey meat, something like venison would not be out of the question, or wild boar if you can find that. That may be a bit of a luxury, hard to get item, but this is certainly an enjoyable wine that would go quite well with particularly, I think, venison and that lean, gamey flavor that you get from such a piece of meat. This would also be a great candidate for cheese, particularly this queso salado that I picked up at the market today, along with the pork that I was speaking about earlier. Doesn't that look wonderful? So queso salado. Portuguese wine. The cheese is very salty, as you might imagine from the name, queso salado. The wine is dry. It's a good balance. The wine cuts through the saltiness of the cheese. I just love the flavor of this, and this came off of a 5-pound wheel, about this size. But if you enjoy cheese like Parmigiano Reggiano and the kind that you see in cheese shops or Italian shops in a 50-pound wheel like this is certainly something that you would enjoy. Queso salado, if you're in Ecuador, if you're in South America, and you have a chance to see this, a great wine cheese right here, queso salado. And now for the real test. As I mentioned earlier, I put a 5-pound pork shoulder in the oven this morning, cooked this for 5.5 hours, and this is the finished product to enjoy with my Portuguese wine. Look at that beautiful pork shoulder, and there's just pan drippings, which is a combination of the fat from the pork shoulder and barbecue sauce. That's all it is. Roasted for 20 minutes at 450 degrees and then turned back to 220 for another 4.5 to 5 hours. This is just so tender, so lovely, so fresh. Got this again yesterday at the market across the river. That's a great combination. Pulled pork, I think that's very American, and Portuguese dry table wine. Absolutely love it. This is something you should try, whether you're in Ecuador or anywhere else. This combination is excellent. All right, friends, another successful tasting. Red wine from Portugal, cheese from Ecuador, pulled pork, American style, that was made in Ecuador. This has been a lot of fun. I just want to say thank you to Hugh for inviting Wendy and myself over to Porto and Gaia yesterday. Love your store. We'll be back. Again, $17 for the Castello do Sulco. I think that's a price point that's going to be comfortable with a lot of people. Go see Hugh, check out the wine shop, enjoy some Portuguese red wine. This is Gringo Wine Guy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Adios.